Hi, this is Dr. Geneva, and welcome to another episode of Ignite to Impact. Today, our conversation is with Bettie, who has taken a long trip back, researching her great-great-grandfather, learning about him, he who was a runaway slave, and learning and exploring and moving forward to share with us stories of overcoming, of resilience, of a ferocious sense of community as she has developed a 12-step deep cleanse system called the Life Detox to combat burnout, renew purpose, and unleash engagement and energy for every aspect of life. You won't want to miss this eye-opening conversation.
Welcome to Ignite to Impact, a weekly podcast about next generation leadership and what it takes to make a difference at work, with family, and in your community. Get ready to be inspired as we pull back the curtain and dive into intimate and energetic conversations with achievers and doers who are in the trenches navigating workplace politics and influencing change. Get ready to hear how leaders fail and get back up, learning how to keep it together while traveling in their leadership journey. Our mission: to help you with leadership tips and strategies that you can use to get fast results and help make your business, community, and world a better place. Now, here's your host, Master Leadership Strategist, Dr. Geneva Williams. So, let's ignite to impact.
Hi, this is Dr. Geneva, and welcome once again to Ignite to Impact. You know how I'm always finding these really special folk for us to have conversation with, to learn about new things. Well, guess what? I'm bringing you another awesome, inspiring sister who has developed the Life Detox program. It's a 12-step deep cleanse, got that, to combat burnout, renew purpose, and unleash engagement and energy for every aspect of life. Now, don't you want to learn about that? So welcome Bettie, who's here with us today, and we just want to learn all about what she has to say. She is a coach and activist, and we're going to hear about that and her recent shift to being a coach and an activist. And we'll learn about her studying that she's doing now at Cornell University and the research she's doing into her past, her great-great-grandfather, who was a runaway slave with a spirit of entrepreneurship. So we're going to have a fascinating conversation, and welcome Bettie.
Oh, Dr. Geneva, I should just take you around with me and have to do that.
Well, I'd certainly love to go with you because I understand you're doing exciting things. So tell us about you. First of all, what was it like growing up you?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here, and hello to all of your listeners. Growing up, I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, and I guess you could say I am at a point in my life, the middle of my life. My 26-year-old daughter says old, and I'm like, watch it now. I look back at that, and Detroit played such a pivotal role. I was in a community of amazing, really young leaders who grew up to be leaders, and we were just so motivated. I went to a high school called Cass Tech. And, we joke in Detroit that you either went to Cass or wanted to go to Cass. I graduated like 1,000 people, and so we were like almost like a fame, just to really date myself. Everybody had something that they were passionate about and they were doing it. And, that stuck with me. And I recently moved to New York, and I say it the other way around. If you can make it in Detroit, then you can make it in New York. And I suppose then you can make it anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the journey, is pivotal of why we have to, detox. When I left Detroit, I had been the primary caregiver of my mom, who passed away with lung cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I had gotten my daughter, and those of you who are parents out there with the terrible twos that I say, 20-something, I got my daughter to and through college. Not Aubrey, though. Aubrey is not that way, so we won't say her. But Pam Perry's daughter, that I love so dearly, that I was chatting with earlier. But most of the kids in their 20s, they're going through so much. So I got my daughter through all of that. I got my mom through that. And then I had gotten a buyout at General Motors from doing organizational development and executive coaching and training. And I was burned the heck out, is the bottom line.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know it until I stopped. Being strong can be a blessing and a curse. So I slowed down and I realized throughout this journey and I could go all the way back to divorce and other things, that periodically there's been just chronic burnout that we're going through. And all that to say, my journey from Detroit to this New York and sort of this relaunch that, we can chat about has been eye-opening. And I'm probably, Dr. Geneva, we have this in common. I was like, we have so much in common. I'm not going to leave other people behind. I'm like Harriet Tubman. So I'm like, come on, let's go. I'm going to share with you what I learned.
Uh-huh.
I'm not leaving anybody left behind.
Yes. Now, I'm fascinated by how you describe this, stress and those things we talk about when we're really tired, this chronic burnouts. Go a little deeper with that. What do you mean when you talk about chronic burnout?
Yeah, and, there's different stages of it, of the burnout. Chronic is when it gets pretty bad, just like anything else that would be chronic, but you can always turn it around. So what happens is burnout's a little different than stress. Stress is when you've just been doing too much or you just got so much on your mind, you're constantly ruminating about negative things and you're anxious and, the stress is building up. You can have good stress or, turn it around to bad stress. Burnout, though, is interesting. It's about not having enough. So you're doing all this treadmill, constant going and going without replenishing the things that we need to replenish.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find yourself like a candle. It's just literally burned out, and now you don't have any joy. That's why very similar symptoms to like a depression or anxiety. You don't have the joy. You're probably isolating just like you would in that realm. However, it's literally there's no engagement. You can't solve your problems now. You're a mess at work. You're a mess at home, and you're probably giving up hope.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think I heard you say that you had been at GM, you were in the corporate world. And then when you took a pause, that's when you discovered or realized this chronic burnout. So tell us a little bit about what you did in the corporate world and what do you think led you to this chronic burnout, the end of your candle?
Yeah. And I was telling, trying to kind of tell a life story in an intro there.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Thank you.
No, we with you.
The first time I knew that I was burned out was when I left corporate. That was actually about 2005. And I realized that there was, I took a buyout. I was going to start my own business, and I was too burned out. I found myself laying on the couch, spread out. Now, the beautiful thing is I still created. That's actually when I began to create my own life coaching program, which the Life Detox is built off of. I couldn't, though, do, Dr. Geneva, what we need to do, and that's get out, network, collaborate, speak, do all the things that I love to do because I had gone through a divorce. I had, made a home for myself in Birmingham, Michigan, got my daughter into elementary school, and when I got out of that workforce of doing all of that when she was maybe, in elementary school through junior high, going through a marriage and then a divorce, I was so fried that I couldn't get out there and do the things that I needed to do, which had a severe impact financially because then the economic storm came and just blew me away. And many other people, we all have our stories, and you just know how people get there. We just say it's the economy, but typically if we had a big nest egg, you know what I mean? Barring anybody taking your nest egg and doing something, which we had that too, you'd be more secure. I had taken a risk and then I got blown away. However, it got me so in tune, and thank God it did, and that I was so depleted, because then I was able to create, I did some research, and I was able to create 7 areas of our life. I call it like an optimal living quiz that you can take, and you can see if you're in the green, if you're in the yellow, you're in the red. And you can really assess from everything from spirituality to self-care to your work and your career, love and marriage, your financial aspect of it, your community service, and your fun. It's the areas of life that we typically take for granted that we neglect, and we assess that, and then we can go to work in doing something about it. Now, what I was saying also, just fast forward, after my mom passed and my daughter and through college, that's when I really realized I was burned out, and that took me to this aha moment when I changed my whole purpose and things like that I was talking about.
So you were perhaps just going on that treadmill, and then if I'm hearing you became an empty nester, your divorce situation, the leaving the corporate world, and all of a sudden, boom, here you were, and you realized that your candle was burning out, and there was this chronic burnout.
Absolutely. And when I looked at my 7 areas, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, when I looked at my 7 areas, I probably had, what got me through was that my spirituality, I could always have increased my spiritual practices, but it was in good yellow to green mode. And I often say I lost everything except for my spirituality and my, and my daughter. And I was thankful for that. And when I looked at the other areas, they were all going from yellow to red in the orange area of it. And so I got into action. And so then was able to teach back. Now, once I got to New York, and I really realized, and here's the real reason why I'm so excited to come on and talk to you today, because I know you can relate to that, being a person leading change yourself. I had a friend of mine, and I was sharing with you, Keith Ellison, who's the deputy chair of the DNC. I went and accompanied him to the Daily Show with Trevor Noah. We had been chatting about, he was trying to have me run for office or do something that I was not going to do, Dr. Geneva, at all.
Okay.
However, then he goes on the show, we're at the taping, and he shouts me out in the audience. Everybody's like clapping, and he literally challenges me to, and all of us that are in corporate, that are, and I'm going to say it this way, the change agents, the coaches, the facilitators, those of us with these extra special skills of facilitation. He didn't say it that deep, but that was my aha moment that came out of it. He said, you're in corporate, and that's been great. What are you going to do now with everything that's going on in now this world, the economic storm before? Now I call it post-traumatic election disorder. And so what are we going to do now? And that was my beginning of this new period of being able to give back what I had learned about myself, but at this point, heeding the call to do something more. Yes, go to work, do what I'm doing, but there was something else that was burning inside of me to contribute.
Yes. And so is that burning inside of you, is that the 12-step detox system? Yeah. Okay, so tell us about that.
Yeah, because I'm heeding the call to, get involved, and I believe that we all need to get involved more. And I'm seeing so many people, college students, out, and they're marching and they're doing things, and just people are involved in things that they never, regardless of which side of the fence you're on, people are way more active. And that's what it's going to take right now to get us, back in harmony in our country. If you're burned out, how the heck are you going to contribute more?
Okay.
So that's how it ties together. I saw a potential for a crisis of burnout. And I see it all the time. You see very successful people and you go, wow, this is amazing. And then they just lose their freaking minds, and
yes.
Just not really taking care of themselves in the areas that they need to. I'm foreshadowing, putting my hat on like I was challenged to do, to say, okay, let me look at this. If I was looking at this organizationally, like an organizational development structure, I look at our community and our country and say, danger zone, we are headed for burnout. Even if the country wasn't, going to hell in a handbasket right now, we would still be in a burnout crisis. This just adds so much more. I want to help people who are heeding the call to make sure that they first get themselves, put that oxygen mask on themselves.
Yes. Okay. Yes. If you're just joining us, we are having a deep conversation with Bettie, who's the developer of the Life Detox System, a 12-step process to deep cleanse chronic burnout, to renew purpose and unleash engagement and energy for every aspect of life. And so we're hearing about her journey through the corporate world, life, wife, mother, transported from Detroit to now New York, and we're getting quite a great picture of how she's looking forward to the future and how she's moved from coach, well, really how she's moved to coach and activist. So tell us a little bit about that too, Kim.
Yeah, it's funny how much social media plays a role. You know, it doesn't happen unless you put it on social media, right?
Right.
For us. And no one hears it, did it really fall? And so part of my heeding the call to lead change and not just be a victim of the whirlwind of change and then help other people, I started realizing, you know, back in the day we called ourselves sort of change agents is what I would call myself. And, you know, I realized that I'm going to say, you know, I'm an activist. You know, advocacy is more of helping people more so like out of the hole, like literally pulling them up when there's certain realms of really organizing and helping that's really helping that person help themselves. And I feel like I'm leading change and really helping people to ignite what's inside of them so that then they can improve their life and also then give back and contribute as well. And I'm talking this has to be rapid fire. You know, we're not talking like what's your 5-year goals. We're like, we need to do this in 12 steps, 90 days, and let's get busy because we can't keep licking our own wounds. We all have things. We've all been through many things. I said economic storm, my mom, my daughter in her 20s, and work and a buyout of a major corporation. I could lick my wounds the rest of my life. I've got to detox all that and heartache and all those things and get ready to really contribute in the world so that we can take care of our country. That is, the dream is fading fast, I say.
Mm-hmm. And so what if someone said, okay, I want to do the life detox? What would happen? What would they do?
So if you want to do the life detox, and what we're doing is really, I'm going to give you an example of a first step.
Great.
To do that. And so you're realizing that you're called and you want to do something bigger. Oh, the way I really got the idea too is I do my best to eat clean, vegetarian, eating clean, and I did a detox, like a smoothie detox for 10 days.
Uh-huh.
All the physiological benefits of that, breaking habits, learning new habits, getting all the stuff out. I'll spare us all the details, right, but all the detoxy things that come out of us, and just getting that deep cleanse can give us so much more energy and a glow, and you can go down a dress size and all the different things that really jumpstarts health for us. Well, the same thing with your life. And so one of the things that is part of the life detox is really doing a life review. You said, I come from corporate, so what this really is, Dr. Geneva, at the most simplest, strip it for the street level, would be, it is strategic visioning for your life. I did corporate, training and development and organizational development for companies, and you have to go through a process of looking back over a period before you can really strategic vision and strategic plan for a company. Well, I apply those same principles to our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Step one is always looking back. It's sort of this what they call Sankofa experience, which is a Donald word about looking back to move forward. So first, we look back, but so interesting. I only used to go back like 100 years. Look at yourself over the course of 100 years and look at the things that you've achieved and look at what you've left behind. Grieve if you must, what's been left behind, and then figure out what you're going to go for ferociously. So if you're a woman who's 45 and you have never had children, you could be 55, you've never had children, and you wanted to have children, if you're over it, grieving, and I'm going to be an auntie, I'm going to be, I'm going to do some community service and help children. What if you want a child? Then let's get to the adoption.
Absolutely.
Let's figure it out. Which way are you going to go? Get off the fence. It's poking you up the behind. Get off, grieve it, move forward. But Dr. Geneva, then I went back even further and said, you know what? There's this toxic level, especially with all the racism and things going on. Like, I went all the way back, and that's how I discovered my great-grandfather.
Okay.
I'll sprinkle that, yeah.
And so tell us, what did you discover?
Yeah, it's a long story short, ladies, and I'm going to speak to you. My mom was a woman who used to chant a poem that said, trust no man, not even your brother. If they must be trusted, let them trust one another. And can you imagine my relationships with that poem in my head? But one day, while I was going through my own life detox, if you will, and experimenting in the lab for others, I realized I wanted to just not have that in my vernacular anymore. I believe that there's good men out there, and then a lot of other things that were going on in my life, and I literally heard in my spirit, go and detox your great-grandfather. And I thought, well, that's just ridiculous, God, because he died at 104. He was born, he was a runaway slave in 1864. So what's he going to be on the internet? I couldn't figure it out. I went and Googled him and found blog articles, pictures that had incorporated his slave narrative that I didn't even know he had a slave narrative, because we're running around the house going, men aren't beep. Instead of going like, what a man, what a mighty good man, about my great-grandfather. And on fire to say that I want everybody to have this experience. So the detox is a deep cleanse, because we're not just going to do we're going to go all the way back and find the nuggets that then can tell me, Dr. Geneva, he lived to be 104 years old. So he ran away from as a slave in 1864, when basically, for the most part, people had been set free. He overheard in Kentucky his slave owners saying, we're never going to tell them that they're free. We're just going to milk this cow forever. He overheard that, ran and got his little brother from some other plantation, made his way to Indiana. He was not bitter in his slave narrative, as he described. He joked and had a positive spirit. He married a woman of his dreams. He co-founded a church. He had land that he rented out to white people in a beautiful bungalow, a row of homes, and other land that he had. And he lived to be 104, never sick. One day got sleepy and went to bed and didn't wake up. I'm thinking, you can do that in those times. So first I had the aha, deep cleanse, and then I realized the resilience and the tenacity and the responsibility of me to do the things that I'm sharing with you, to heed that call, all came from detoxing my life and going all the way back and finding that, and I want that for others.
Yes. What a wonderful journey. And, I just came back from Dallas, Texas, where I spent 4 or 5 days with Dr. Venus Opal Reis. I don't know if you have heard her. She's the Black women millionaire coach, and she's a phenomenal woman, and she talks about the way to your money is through your heart, and it has a lot to do with looking back and healing wounds, so that like you're saying, there were things that happened in your life, a perspective on men. You went back, you took some time to go back to cleanse, to heal that wound. And so I'm sure you feel a lot different now, since you've discovered the incredible life of your great-great-grandfather.
Yeah, it had me be unstoppable. And the more that I researched about and what's so interesting is, and to tie it in a bow, so in 2016, the Smithsonian Institute and the Mormon Church really got together and released the files that had been held back after the Reconstruction period. So coincidentally, in 2016, these slave narratives, well, my grandfather's slave narrative was already out there, but I was able to research more about him that I would never have been able to do if they had digitized the files that were in a dusty place in D.C. that you could never have found, wherever they were kept. And so now I found things about my great-grandfather that I would never have, but coincidentally, that's right around the time of the affectionate post-traumatic election disorder. So, that there's no way that this was not a coincidence. This was a coincidence.
And so what you learned about your grandfather and his life and his spirit of entrepreneurship and overcoming just things that happen, his resiliency, do you use that in your coaching program, in your Life Detox 12-step process?
You got it. In all my programs, I've integrated in his story, because it's really all about stories, you know. And so part of it is his story of resilience and his mindset that he had even during the crisis, not even after getting out. He had this independent mindset that when he was 6 years old and ripped away from his 11 brothers and sisters and his mom and dad to go now, he was happy because he was born a slave, happy in his plantation, and then the slave owner died, and then he got pulled away, and he said, well, that was the first day that I was an independent slave. He ran away, and he got a little, a job. People would have maybe interpreted as still being a slave or maybe a sharecropper. He said, that's when I became an independent worker. He said, I need a few of these, and he got more and more of it. So that was his mindset and his spirit of entrepreneurship. And so many people are burned out, stressed out at work, frustrated at their bosses. And I'm like, you're not having the mindset that my grandfather had. He survived slavery. And Dr. Geneva, I'm working on a concept of post-traumatic management disorder.
Okay.
Because the life and how we treat each other at work mimics how we do in the slave ownership, and that's part of the burnout. I learned that from my great-grandfather, too.
So there's lots of lessons that you learned. I love this whole Sankofa approach. The looking back, and then not only the importance and what you can discover in the looking back process, but also you need to do that before you can create a strategic vision for your life.
You got it.
Yeah. So why is that? Well, what I'd love for you to help our listeners with is, what is a strategic vision for your life, and why is that important?
Oh wow, that's such a good question. It's about it's multi-layered, but really when you think about it, without vision we perish. Obvious, that's something that many of us believe. And if you do not, especially during these turbulent times of change, if you're not grounded in having purpose, that's your anchor, a vision that you can see, and then steps that are bold that you're willing to take, and then all of that has to be aligned to something, or it is, either consciously or unconsciously, it's aligned to something. So are you aligning it to what's this trouble that's going on in the world? Are you aligning it to something subconsciously that your parents said that you could or you couldn't do? Are you aligning it? For me, I align it spiritually, and I get grounded in, my spirituality. What are you aligning it to? And the tip of the berg is you have to look back first over the history to see, once again, I said, get that energy. What am I leaving behind? What am I ferociously going for? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my opportunities? What's threatening? You got to go back and look back so that you can really do this SWOT analysis, so to speak, for your own life, and then put your vision out there and go forward with the steps. That's like run our lives like we can a business. Yes. And I noticed that you again, some of the terminology from and the things that you would do in your corporate life, the SWOT analysis, strategic visioning, assessment.
so those things you took forward, it seems like you're constantly in a process of learning from your lived experiences and moving them forward in your work that you do today and what you see yourself doing in the future.
Yeah, I remember going on an interview once, and the guy interviewing me said, you talk so much about your lessons learned. Like, I wasn't afraid to talk about failures and where I had been and those things. That comes natural to me. Mm-hmm. Now that you say it, Dr. Geneva, I guess that is what I do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's a good thing, because I think it's so important for people to do that introspection and to, rejoice and claim lived experiences, because it's only one life that you got, and all of it, if you have that faith, if you have a faith, it's all purposeful and it all is driving to something, and usually if you have that faith that something is good, and you'll find your way. So what's next for you, Kim?
Yeah.
What's next, and what's next, and how can people be a part of it?
Love that. So what's really next, it really ties to what you just shared. It's that, people are disconnected and not engaged in life, not only in work. You see me flirting with the corporate and then the life, and I really see myself as a business, life, and love coach. So all those different areas. We could talk about love another day. But I really see that you have to be engaged in life, and that's where that energy comes, to do your work, to have a full life, and then to get out there and make a difference, and then also be with your loved ones. Mm-hmm. And so engagement comes from, like you said, being attached to something, aligned to something, that meaning. You have to feel safe, and you also have to have energy available. So when you look at that, my mission right now is twofold: to really support people in this life detox. More to come on that. I believe in, I'm like a little Robin Hood, and then I want to give it away. So I'll be talking about the life detox on podcasts and out there on social media to give people that. And that is something that I want to get more people involved for the life detox. A book is probably in my future about the detox. Mm-hmm. And then also, I'm really passionate about what's going on in the world, and so I've also created a diversity and inclusion type of coaching program, because it takes more than a half day, Starbucks, to really make change. And so the concept, as Oprah Winfrey said on her May magazine, we've got to figure out what we can agree on. And I want to create those types of dialogues. Mm-hmm. One big happy family. The myth is we have to be one happy family. Well, it takes a lot of talking and being honest with each other, and emotional intelligence. It's like diversity intelligence is the new emotional intelligence. So I've got something for that as well. And then I'm going to continue researching my great-great-grandfather and sharing wisdom. I could see something out of that. I don't know if it's I'm flirting with a documentary along that. And then getting other people to do the same, and then capturing their stories as well. Yes. So how you can be a part of it and follow me. Like I said, if I wouldn't have put Coach Plus Activist out on LinkedIn and out on Facebook, I would have felt like it didn't happen. So I'm going to say a couple ways to hang out with me would be, first and foremost, KimBettie.com, and that's Kim, BETTIE.com, and you can subscribe to my website and my blog there, and that's pretty much my hub of where I post everything. Mm-hmm. And then I am also on Twitter at Coach Kim Bettie, and you can find me there. I'd say those are the two best places to hang out. Fantastic.
Well, we wish you the best of everything in your 12-step detox program, and as you move that and groove that, a book, I see it. I mean, as you talked it, I saw it, I see it. So I want to be invited to the book launch, and yes, I think the diversity coaching and the fullness and richness of that possibility is something that the world needs. So, Kim Bettie, we need you. The world world needs you. Thank you for sharing your lived experiences and life-changing moments with us. I absolutely love your encouragement of us to look back and to delve deeply into the past, understand it, rejoice in it, heal the wounds, and move forward. Have that serve as a light for us to move forward and imagine and create our future. So thanks so much, Kim, and I want to have you back once that book is out.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Geneva. This has been a pleasure, and thank you for sharing your audience with me, and I will certainly come back, and I'll keep you posted.
Okay. Thank you, Kim. And again, welcome to being one of our tribe on Ignite to Impact.
You've been listening to Ignite to Impact with your host, Dr. Geneva Williams, an award-winning executive, facilitator, and master leadership strategist. Dr. Geneva is passionate about inspiring others to get their own leadership on and empowering the next generation with leadership tools and tips to help make the world a better place. Sign up to download Dr. Geneva's audiobook on leadership. Get the show notes, links, and other resources at drgenevaspeaks.com. That's drgenevaspeaks.com. Thanks for listening. Please share this podcast to those in your community via Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Google+, and leave us a 5-star review in iTunes. When you do that, it helps others find the show better. Send your questions or comments to info@drgenevaspeaks.com and use the hashtag Ignite2Impact.